Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Again, this is another wonderful uh, day where we are going to converse a very important and interesting topic in PRISM Talk, a joint initiative of Chennai Liver Foundation and Indian Council of Medical Research, National Institute of Epidemiology. We bring eminent speakers in the medical discipline who would share their wisdom on how they think on evolved on the medical research and as well as how it impacted the humankind. Today we have a most important speaker who has been supported this nation at the most important difficult time as one of the pillar who brought in our own Atmanirbhar co-vaccine vaccination against COVID-19 infection. I'm very happy to introduce my beloved friend, Dr. Satyajit Mohapatra, who is the head of the Department of Pharmacology, All India Institute of Medical Science, Guwahati. So Dr. Satyajit Mohapatra is also an ex-director of the Center of Clinical Trials, SRM Medical College and Research Center. And he is also the PI of ICMR Phase 1 Center at SRM Medical College, Tamil Nadu. He is a principal coordinator of the certificate course, a DHR certification on GCP training program. He has been trained in Harvard Medical School and has completed more than 35 sponsored advanced clinical trials. So he is also the most important principal investigator of Covaxin clinical trials, both phase 1, 2, and 3, which is one of the clinical trial centers of Covaxin. And he is recipient of multiple awards and grants from ICMR, BIRAC, DBT, and Department of Health Research, Indian Council of Medical Research. He has publications in many reputed journals, including Lancet and Lancet Infectious Disease, and as well as Nature. And he is we are very proud to say that he's a recipient of the Bharat Ratna Mother Teresa Gold Medal and several awards. More than everything, he's an avid academician and as well as a researcher and a very beloved friend of mine. I'm very happy to have Dr. Satyajit here. Over to you, Dr. Satyajit.
Thank you, Dr. Ganesh, and it's a privilege for me to be part of this program that has been organized by the Chennai Liver Foundation and Institute of National Institute of Epidemiology, ICMR. And I'd like to thank Dr. Ganesh for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge and share my experiences that I have I've learned through or I've experienced throughout my academic career for last 15 to 17 years. And Ganesh has been a good friend of mine, and we had worked together also, so we know each other's strength and weaknesses. And thank you, Dr. Ganesh, for inviting me again, and thank you for the words that you shared in the introduction. So my limited knowledge, whatever I have, I'll definitely share, and I like to highlight on some of the points that we worked during my career in SRM Medical College, as we did some vaccine trials there, right? So let me share the screen.
Yes, full screen. No? Yeah.
Is it?
Slideshow.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's visible, right?
You are good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's visible. Good to go.
Yeah. Thank you. So again, good evening, everyone. So I will be discussing about the journey of vaccine trials in academic settings, like how in different academic settings, you as a clinical researcher, you can conduct some vaccine trials, and not only the early phase trials or the late phase trials, also if the academic settings can be a part of early phase trials also. So I'll share some of the experience that I have in building, like in conducting late phase trials and building a early phase clinical setup, trial setup in an academic setting. So maybe next, before I talk, I want to have a disclaimer. These opinions expressed in this presentation and on the following slides are solely those of the presenter, that is mine. And some of the images and contents which I'm going to share are from the previous institution where I worked, and I'll share this here only for the academic purpose, and which is not necessarily for any promotion or benefit of the previous institution. So I'll be talking in next 30 to 40 minutes about why vaccine matters, right? Why do we care about vaccines and how it helps in public health? And then what are the different stages of development of vaccine, or the preclinical and clinical development of vaccine, the different phases of vaccine trials, and what are the role of academia in conducting vaccine clinical trials, and how you want to build a strong foundation in academia setting to conduct clinical trial in that setup. So that also is very important because you need manpower, you need infrastructures, you need proper ethical and regulatory compliant guidelines to be set up when you plan to start some clinical trial in academia settings. Then what are the opportunities and barriers that happens? Always there will be opportunities and there will be barriers also in academia. And I'll share some success stories and case studies also, and the lesson learned and the future direction. Now, why vaccine matters? Everyone knows like vaccines are one of the greatest public health achievements of modern medicine. Every year, routine immunization happens, and it saves almost like 4 to 5 million lives annually, which has been reported by WHO in 2023. And smallpox is the only disease that has been eradicated in the history through vaccination, and polio is in the verge of elimination. Now, when you look at COVID-19 vaccination program, it's like academic centers have played a major role in testing and evaluating vaccines, which enabled the first ever vaccine rollout in the history. Vaccination program had reduced child mortality and improved life expectancy, like, and strengthened the community immunity. As I told, like COVID-19 vaccine was an example of the fastest global vaccine rollout during the pandemic. And beyond health, vaccines also contribute enormously to the economic stability and by reducing the disease burden and loss of productivity. Now, there is a very short history of vaccine development, like starting from the 18th century of the development of smallpox vaccine to the latest one, the COVID vaccine trial during the uh, uh, COVID-19 pandemic. Now, if you look at the basic understanding of how the vaccine works or how the vaccine produces immunity, so vaccine is an antigen which is given by the external routes, like either injection or oral. And once it is given, it can stimulate the macrophage and the dendritic cells and can stimulate the CD4 cells and CD8 cells, right? So the CD8 effector cells become the memory cell, which produces the long-term immunity, and the CD4 cells which are stimulated can become like they'll attach with the B cell and convert it to the plasma cells and produce antibodies. And these antibodies are they act against the antigens in the vaccine. And also this some of the B cells converted into the memory B cells, which produces long-term immunity, and also some long-lived plasma cells are also there. Now, when you look at the primary immune response by giving the first vaccination, there is an increase in antibody concentration in the plasma, which provides some immunity to the person. And by giving a booster dose or a second vaccination, it elicits the secondary immune response, which is faster, stronger, and long-lasting immune response happens. So over the time, the immunity, the antibody against the antigens is there in the body, and which provides a stronger and long-lasting immune response. So immunity against the pathogens are there, so no illness or mild symptoms are there when the person is exposed to the pathogens in future or to the same antigen in the future. So this is the basics of how the vaccines works. Now coming to the clinical development of vaccine, when you know that vaccine development is it's a very stepwise and highly regulated journey. It has been regulated by the different regulatory agencies, global as well as the local regulatory agency, and it can take 10 to 15 years. 10 to 15 years if it is under normal circumstances, and we have exception. We have seen exception where the COVID-19 vaccine has been developed through accelerated development trials, and during the COVID-19 phase. That was an emergency, so it got emergency use approval during the pandemic. So if you look at the proper development of vaccine, like it starts with the preclinical test in the laboratory or animal studies, where the immunogenicity and safety testings are done. And then the proof of concept is determined before it goes for the first in human trial or FIS trial. Then the phase 1 study, which is a very short, small scale, but it's a crucial studies. It happens in 20 to 100 participants. It recruits healthy volunteers, mostly the adults, and the safety, tolerability, the dosing and immune response is determined. Then the vaccine goes for the phase 2 trial, where 100 to 1,000 participants are involved. The target populations are mostly the children, elderly, or at-risk groups, and the expanded safety and immunogenicity data is obtained in phase 2. When it is planned for a phase 3 study, it is the most research intensive and involves tens of thousands. Like it's a large multicentric studies are planned in case of phase 3, and the efficacy against disease is determined, as well as the rare adverse event, because the number of sample size increases. So rare adverse events are also determined in this phase, and this is the basis for the regulatory approval. Once they complete the phase 3 study, the vaccine company, they apply for approval, and they get the approval from the regulatory agencies. After the approval, it goes for vaccination. So vaccine to vaccination, right? So vaccine development occurs phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then it gets approval, and it goes to the real world for vaccination. So when it goes for vaccination, the real world effectiveness of the vaccine can be determined, and the long-term safety, like rare side effects, which can happen in 1 lakh or 1 in 10 lakhs population, can determine the rare side effects, and also the duration of protection can be determined. So the new indications or booster schedules also can be planned in phase 4 studies. So this is the diagrammatic representation of what I discussed. The preclinical research, you have in the lab, the pathogen examination, then the design of vaccine, and the test in the cell culture or animal models are done. Then it goes for phase 1 study, where the safety, tolerability, immunogenicity is tested. Then the phase 2, doses and immunogenicity and safety, and then goes for efficacy, large efficacy trial in phase 3. And after approval, production delivery, it goes for mass vaccination in the vaccination center or the physician lab, the clinic and all. And then further studies, the post marketing studies or the phase 4 studies can be planned in the later part of the vaccine trials. Now, what is the role of academia in all this? Now, academia has a strong role in all these trial, the stages of trial. Maybe it's a late phase or early phase, because of the infrastructure, and in mostly in the phase 4 or phase 3, because of the real world patient access is high in case of academia settings. So when you look at the academia setting, academia is mostly involved in not only in patient care, it also involves in medical education and research. So there's a unique environment for clinical trial, because they combine both clinical trial, means clinical research, clinical care, teaching, as well as research. So all these are found in academia setting together, and patient trust them. Patient trust the academic setting if they are involved in any of the clinical trial. So a study was done in 2012 in one of the two major academia institution in Delhi, and it was found that, like you see, the primary activity of most of the academia settings are teaching, and healthcare. Very few are involved in research. But in spite of that, whatever research they involve, there are some barriers to research activities also in academia settings, like access to good statistical package, consultative powers pertaining to research, budget for research in the institution. So there are a lot of barriers of their training program to encourage researchers to the institution, and then first time hands-on assistance about how to apply for funding. All these are there, but still the barriers. There are some. Now this has changed. Academia settings are coming up and overcoming all these barriers and trying to be involved in most of the academic trials as well as regulatory clinical trials. So you see, academic settings should be interested in doing research, clinical research, because most of the student, also those who are involved, like medical student, they want to pursue their career not only in the clinical aspects or the clinical subject. They want to be involved in the medical research also after graduation. So this study showed that it's not only the case of India; it's a global scenario. Like every medical students, 1/3 of the medical students, they plan to pursue career in medical research after graduation. And students who presented higher scientific interest in high school, they are more often involved in research project at the university level and show higher interest in pursuing research career. So medical students are interested in research. So academia settings like academia institutions, they should be involved in medical research. And they're the best institution, this is the best center which can do clinical trial. So clinical research and trial are best conducted in academia environment. They must address the needs of the government and non-government sponsors and develop strategic plan to engage investigators and partners with medical product industry. So they improve the administration of these grants so that they can run efficiently and cost effectively and remain flexible enough to change in order to continue to meet the community needs. So there is role of researchers in academia medical center also, and this is the best institute that can do or involved in clinical trial. So if you can see this graph, academia has consistently led clinical trial research in recent years. And you can see like the government institutes and the institution and the company, the pharmaceutical company, right? So the majority of trials happens in the institutions. So this happens. This is a global scenario. It happens in all over the world, in Europe, Australia, North and South America. So most of the institutions are also involved in academic institutions are involved in clinical trial. Maybe phase 1 trial or phase 4 trial. So most of the phase 1 trials also happens in academia settings. So why academia settings are important in clinical trial or conduct of clinical trial? Because as I told, like trusted research environment, and patients tend to trust the academic institution more than the private setups, and they help in recruitment and adherence to the clinical trial. And they have access to the diverse population, right? So access to urban population, rural population, and different age group like pediatric population, elderly population, and high risk group, which are often underrepresented elsewhere. So all these diverse patient populations are available in academia settings. And then the scientific culture in academia, they ensure that there is a rigorous study design is there, and there is ethical committee involvement is there. So the data which is generated is a quality data which is coming out of it. Transparent data, evidence-based data is generated in case of academia settings. And academia also act as a training ground. Like they train for capacity building in clinical research. So they build the next generation investigator, next generation clinical research professional by conducting different types of training program, like good clinical practice program, or maybe the clinical trial skill intensive program, or different mentorship program. So they build the next generation clinical research professional also. So as I mentioned, academic settings provide diverse patient population. The beginning of vaccine trial in academia. So it's not only it's not new. There are historical roots are there, like early vaccine research, which are led by university and teaching hospital. Like example from Jenner's smallpox work, which in the 18th century to 20th century, starting from there to academia, centers testing the BCG, polio, or the DPT vaccines, and universities has been in the forefront of vaccine trials. So India also, medical colleges are also involved in many of the large community vaccine studies program. They are involved in the polio vaccine studies, polio eradication program, rotavirus, measles surveillance program, and later the HPV and the typhoid conjugate vaccine trials also. Academic settings are involved. Now, academia offers strengths like they access, as I mentioned, to diverse patient population, long-term follow-up, and integration with the training programs. So all these are they are available in academic studies, academic setting. But the early journey was not without challenges. There were challenges because infrastructure, as I mentioned, infrastructure was minimal. Even the clinical researchers, the manpower were minimal. Very few people were trained in clinical research. So infrastructure was minimal. Reliance on international funders where their collaborators was high. So and there are so many hurdles were there which slowed the progress of vaccine trials. But still, these early trials laid the foundation for today's academic trial network, which could take on complex projects like COVID-19 vaccine trials. If you look at the COVID-19 vaccine trials, uh, uh, approximately 50% of the trial institutes are from academic settings. In case of both our indigenous Covaxin trials as well as the Covishield trial. Uh, as I discussed, like the smallpox vaccine starting from 18th century to the 21st century, the COVID vaccine, the zoster vaccine, or the rotavirus or pneumococcal, meningococcal vaccines. So there is a history of vaccine development is there, and more the academic settings has an important role in this. Now, how to build a foundation in academia for conducting clinical trial? So a vaccine trials requires more than doctors or the clinical research professional. It needs infrastructure. It needs system. Right? And academic centers can gradually develop clinical trial unit with designated space, monitoring room, and GCP compliance SOPs and all. So this is very important because GCP compliant sites they should be able to do monitoring the data and the pharmacy support. And then most of the trials rely on specialized lab like immunogenicity assays, serology, molecular diagnostic labs, which often set up within the academic institution with support from either government agencies or from the industry. So even the biorepository for sample storage is required, right? So this molecular lab can be used for the biomarker or serology testing. So specialized lab is required also in the part of the infrastructure development in academic settings. The oversight structures like IECs, Institutional Ethics Committee should be there, Data Safety Monitoring Board should be there, which ensure the safety and ethics are never compromised in clinical trial. Another pillar is the data management, which can use the EDC platform or the secure database or some in-house data. This biostatistics support can be obtained. So crucially, academia they invest in people, trained study coordinators, the nurses, the pharmacists, who ensures that smooth day-to-day trial operations are happening in the settings. And this infrastructure not only supports vaccine but also creates a platform, right? So these dedicated staffs which are trained in GCP or the pharmacovigilance or the regulatory compliance, they are not only trained for the vaccine trial, that creates a platform for other therapeutic trials also. They can be used for other therapeutic trials in different other indications like oncology, biologics, or medical devices. So academia build trial infrastructure step by step, and it is sustainability is achieved by this. And CTU should have the coordination with the lab, with the manpower like the research coordinators, the pharmacy, the local regulatory agencies like ethics committee or the DSMB. So it should be working with a coordinated manner. Right? The training and capacity building in academia. infrastructure alone is not enough. So it requires trained manpower. Trained manpower is the key. So it's mandatory. GCP training is mandatory for all the investigator and staffs which are involved in clinical trial. Every vaccine trial starts with GCP training for investigators, coordinators, and staff, and it ensures ethical and scientific conduct of the clinical trial as per the international standard. Academia institution, they nurture multidisciplinary teams like research nurses. They handle the patient or the participant's care. The research coordinator, they manage the documentation. Pharmacists, they ensure proper vaccine handling. The lab staffs, they process the immunogenicity samples and all. So all skilled development programs should be there for them, and each of them, they know their roles and responsibility in the trial. Training is often can be done hands-on, like mock runs of the informed consent, practice in consent taking, adverse event reporting, the SAE reporting drills, or dry runs of the protocol before the participant recruitment, or the SIV can be done in the trial center. So this is important to train or to make the manpower or the staff that are available in the setting, the clinical trial setting, to be aware of the protocol beforehand. So capacity building is not one time; it's a continuous professional development process, right? So it can be developed through organizing different workshops, different CMEs, even the global exchange program, then online certification program, and exposure to international collaboration. So capacity building is academic legacy for the future trial. It requires capacity building by training good clinical research professionals, who are trained in GCP, who are trained in ethics rules, who are trained in the regulatory rules, guidelines. So that is very important in the manpower who are involved in clinical trial. Now coming to the partnership in academic vaccine trials, there can be partner between the academia and government. So national immunization programs, which comes under the MOHFW or ICMR or DBT, these vaccine trials, they're possible only through strong partnership across multiple stakeholders. And government partnership, they provide direction and funding. As I mentioned, these agencies like ICMR, DBT, or Ministry of Health and Family Health, they connect the academic data with the public health policies. And then collaboration with industry partners. They enable the translation of academia research into actual vaccine. As is seen in COVID-19 vaccine trial, where academia hospital tested the industry developed candidates. So there was COVID-19 vaccine developers were there. So pharma and biotech, they combined together, like the sponsors, and technology transfer was done, and the product development was done by the sponsor. The global organization like WHO, CEPI, UNICEF, or Gavi, they support the low, medium income countries academia sites with funding, training, and trial networks, which ensure that academia data contribute to the global vaccine equity. So equally important are the community partnerships. Academia hospitals are trusted by public, and this makes an effective in addressing the vaccine hesitancy and improving the trial recruitment. Trust building and participant engagement also is important. And academic collaboration across university or teaching hospital create multicentric trial network. So as you take examples of the intent network, which has been developed by the ICMR, they've identified more than like around nearby 100 centers, academia centers, and who are involved in various phases of clinical trials, which are organized by the ICMR, right? So together, this partnership forms an ecosystem which sustains academia vaccine trials. So this is very important, like the partnership between academia, government, academia, industry, or a global organization, as well as with the community. So you can take an example of COVID-19 vaccine development, like how the collaboration of Bharat Biotech with ICMR NIV, which is from the government institute, and then the academic trial sites are involved in developing the COVID vaccine. And together, this partnership form the ecosystem which sustain the academic vaccine trials. Now coming to the academia, clinical researchers at the heart of every academic vaccine trial is the clinician, researcher, someone who wears two hats, right? So clinicians are in the academic setting, they are not only clinician, they are also having the dual role as a researcher also. So as a clinician, they care for the patient, and as a researcher, they generate evidence. So this is one of the important things that that is found in academia settings. Clinician, they take care of the patient, they gain trust from the families, and they understand the community needs. And as a researcher, they design, conduct the scientifically robust and ethically sound trials. And this dual role is especially important in pediatric vaccines, because this is one of the sensitive studies, pediatric vaccine trial, where parents, they trust academic doctors more than the industry representatives. And they act as a mentors, right? The clinician or clinician researcher, they act as a mentors, and then train the next generation investigators also, like the resident who are there in the college, the scholars, the medical students. So unlike pure industry researcher, academia investigator, they bring ethical grounding and long-term responsibility, and they remain connected with the patients even beyond the trial. So they act as a catalyst for innovation by bringing clinical insights into the trial design as also the execution. Also. And they have ethical responsibility, so they prioritize patient safety and scientific integrity more than personal benefit. Now, challenges in conducting trials in academia is, despite strong infrastructure or expertise, academia they faces challenges which can slow or complicate vaccine trials. Um, you can see the infrastructure, there are infrastructure limitation because there might be limited beds which are available for clinical trial, the lab capacity on the monitoring facilities, and most of the time they rely on the existing hospital infrastructures, right? So that can be a challenge, and funding also is inconsistent. Academic trials, they depend on the government grants or the industry partnerships, and some of the vaccines are low commercial priority, so making funding harder. So there are some hurdles which, like delay in IC approval, administrative and regulatory bottlenecks are there, like delay in ethics approval, contracts and permissions, which can significantly extend the timelines of the trial. Then investigator and staff, they balance multiple roles like treating patients, teaching, conducting research simultaneously, so they get fatigued. So that is also one of the important thing, like how much time they contribute, the clinician contribute towards the research activities. Then community engagement, which is critical, vaccine hesitancy or misinformation, that requires extra time for counseling, follow-up, and public trust building. Because most of the time, if there is a vaccine hesitancy or there, or the public doesn't trust on the vaccine trial that is happening, it becomes very difficult for the researchers to conduct trial or to go to the timeline or make the timeline as per the requirement. Logistic also can be a challenge, both in India as well as other countries, including cold chain management, the long distance sample transport, and ensuring the timely follow. That is important. And recognizing this challenge is crucial to planning as well as risk mitigation and sustainable academic vaccine trials in academia settings. Now, I'll share some of the success stories that happened, like being a clinical researcher. So I was involved in the first clinical trial that was done in 2013 or 2014, the rotavirus vaccine trial. So it was a multicentric study, which provided evidence that was crucial for introducing rotavirus vaccine into India's universal immunization program. So now it is already there in the national immunization program, which prevent thousands of children annually in the. So that gave us the confidence that okay, we can go ahead with clinical trial, being involved or a part of the clinical trial, which is happening at the national level or the global level. Then the typhoid conjugate vaccine, which generated safety and immunogenicity data, which are supported by the WHO pre-qualification, enabling its global use. Then involving in many other clinical trial, we got an opportunity to be a part of this India's indigenous COVID-19 vaccine trial that happened in 2020 to 21-23. It became a primary trial site for Covaxin, and we conducted these studies, which we are fortunate enough to be part of these studies, and which enabled the government of India to uh, approve it on the rapid emergency use authorization. And after that, also we are involved in other future vaccine studies also. So from data to policy, you see, we generated data at a academic setting as a part of a small academic setting, contributing few data to the larger data that was generated at the national level or at the global level, and which changed the policy, right? So academic trials, they shape the public health programs. So we are part of that program also. So COVID-19 vaccine trials happened in academia because of the urgent context. Pandemic required rapid vaccine development, and academia mobilized quickly at the trial site. Um, as I told, like beyond vaccine themselves, academia has built community trust. So there was rural outreach and counseling which held the vaccine hesitancy during these studies. So academia, we mobilized quickly as the trial sites, and there was contribution like phase 1 to phase 3 for multiple candidates, Covaxin trials, and few centers were involved in the Covishield trials also. And the volunteer recruitment, the community trust was gained because most of the academia institutions were involved. So these stories prove that despite challenges, academia research delivery they deliver outcomes, both scientific as well as societal impact. The strength is pre-existing hospital infrastructure and experienced investigator and ethical oversight was there, and integration with the patient care system. But there were challenges because of the speed of the vaccine that was developed and the safety issues. There are public fears, misinformation, as well as hesitancies, and also logistical hurdles were there because of the lockdown. But there was a larger impact. We generated data for emergency authorization of the vaccine. We built a global recognition for Indian academic research. Covaxin was supplied to other countries also, and it created lasting capacity for rapid trials. So COVID-19 proved that academia centers are backbone of rapid and ethical vaccine trials. And I'll share like how our journey began in the starting from a pediatric vaccine trial into the 2013 to 14 from the rotavir vaccine trial to 2020 where the Covaxin trial was done in collaboration with ICMR and Bharat Biotech, and then 2021 with that confidence the investigators they applied for funding support from BIRAC for establishment of a clinical trial unit, and with that small funding, a clinical trial unit was set up. And then in 2022 the GCP program, which was supported by DHR to increase the capacity building, like to enhance the capacity building in trained GCP, trained clinical research professional, not only in the trial center. It was planned to be increase the capacity throughout India. So this program is still running. The GCP ICMR DHR funded good clinical practice program. It's a certificate program for 3 months. And then in 2023, we applied for the phase 1 clinical trial center network, which was there was a call by ICMR, and based on the infrastructure that was developed throughout. That's what I'm saying. We started the journey in 2024, and 2021, 2022, the infrastructure was developed, and based on that, as well as the investigator, the trial site team, we had so much trend. The SOPs were developed, the ethical and regulatory guidelines, everything was in place. The center was able to get recognized by ICMR for only one of the center, one among the 4 centers that has been given recognition by ICMR for phase 1 clinical trial. So this is the center that I was working in the previous institute. It was funded by BIRAC, and it was involved in the Covaxin clinical trial, both phase 1, phase 2, as well as phase 3, and also the booster dose of clinical trial of Covaxin. And this is the trial setup, which has been converted into the AIIMS Center for Advanced Research for Phase 1 clinical trial, which is funded by ICMR. So this is situated in SRM Medical College in Kulathur, and they provide clinical trial, also involved in academic research, as well as the courses that is like GCP course. Now this GCP course has been transferred. Clinical trial internship course also is there. So this is the facility that is required in. I'm just giving a generic example of like how a generic clinical trial center should have the infrastructure. It should have a dedicated pharmacy. It should have a dedicated consent room with audiovisual facility, sample collection room, sample storage room, and the IP administration and observation room. And all this should have access controlled and under the surveillance, CCTV surveillance. So this is the phase 1 unit which was developed under my supervision. Well developed 6-bedded phase 1 unit to support the phase 1 study. Team of scientists having in-depth knowledge and experience in handling phase 1 studies in that center. So what are the lessons learned and what are the future direction of that I'm going to share is, if you look back, the key lessons learned are like academia, hospitals, they have a unique trust advantage and which are critical for vaccine trials. So trust is very important. Like it, participant trust mostly in the academia settings when they take part in the clinical trial. Then ethical culture and regulatory compliance, they give academia credibility, credible edge. Um, uh, Strong ethics and regulatory oversights. This is the foundation of credibility. Then training and mentorship, they have created a pipeline of skilled researchers. So they build a sustainable research ecosystem by training as well as mentorship. And without community engagement, even the best design trials, the face hurdle. So community engagement is important. So this is possible in case of academia institutions. Then partnerships with government, industry, global bodies, which are the fuel which accelerates outcomes. So they accelerate innovation as well as policy translation. So the final tips are, if there are one message to carry home, I can say that academic institutions are the backbone of trials. If you take example of vaccine trials, we should trust the academia settings because it is trusted by public, it is guided by ethics, and it delivers impactful results. Most valuable investment is in the people. So trained investigators are there, trained coordinators are there, trained nurses are there, trained residents are there who form the future of vaccine science. So training, mentorship, and capacity building are there. And then success comes from partnership. Academia cannot work in isolation. It has to thrive with linking with government, linking with industry, linking with community, or linking with international organizations. So we must embrace innovation. There are new things which are coming up like digital tools or these new study designs and also academic settings. This is possible, and then engaging the community essential to overcome the hesitancies. And if you think globally, should they address the local health priorities, also contributing to the global vaccine ecosystem. So this dual role makes it uniquely powerful. So think globally, act locally, address national needs while contributing to the global health. So as we prepare for future pandemics or emergency situations, we must position ourselves as an academia setting. We must position ourselves as a strategic partner for the national and global health preparedness. So this is what I can say all about like how academia settings are involved in vaccine trials and the partner of or contributing to the nation with a larger goal of contributing to the global health. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Satyajit. I think your video is turned off. If there is.
Once again.
Yeah, please. You can unshare the screen. Yeah. Yes, okay. Yes, I could see you now. Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you very much, Dr. Satyajit. A very detailed and as well as an insightful practical session on the vaccine trials, especially in an academic setting on that. I have drawn a lot of observation. It's also very much engaging in terms of an understanding about vaccine trials and why it matters in an academic setting. So I'm just trying to, I have certain questions which I will ask you. Let me please also express your opinions on the same. Could you briefly describe that how an academic environment differs from an industrial setting, especially when it comes to most important initiating vaccine trials? Does it have any added advantage?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, you see in academia settings, like if you are you asking about like starting a vaccine trial or initiating a vaccine trial, right?
Initiating a
Yeah. So most of the
initiating a
time is
vaccine trial.
yes, absolutely. So you see, most of the clinicians or the researchers who are in the academic setting, they are exposed to the day-to-day vaccination program, and they understand the clinical environment of the public health, right? How the vaccination program is going on, what are the requirement or what are the infections or that's coming up. So when this type of environment is there, they have the expertise in them, and uh, most of the, as I mentioned, like most of the participants or the trial participants who take part in the vaccine trial, they have a belief in the doctors or the clinicians who are treating them, who are vaccinating them. So most of the time, like I have seen with my experience and all, like a parent who comes to the clinic for vaccination of the second child who has been whose first child has been vaccinated in the same setting, they have a confidence if the same doctor tells about that the new vaccine has come. Are you going to take this? This is going to benefit you, or this is going to help you, your child in this, and they have the trust. Yes, because they believe in that clinician that yes, uh, they took care of my the first child and I didn't have any side effects, or even at the child had a side effects, the clinician took care of those things. So this type of confidence are more in case of academia settings or clinical settings where the clinicians builds the trust with the trial person. If you look at most of the, you see, most of the vaccine trials, like now we have mostly childhood vaccine trials as compared to the adult vaccination program, right? We have most of the vaccine programs runs for the childhood. So getting the trust is, or getting the trust of the parents is more important when we involve the children in the trial person. So this is one of the key factor that is important, like the role of expertise clinical clinicians and all. And again, the clinicians believes that he or she has the manpower behind that, the infrastructure behind that to take care of the trials, the trial participants who comes into the trial. And yeah, so in any future like follow up, the follow up of the patient, the schedule immunization process, schedule sampling process, all this happens properly in case of academia settings. Means a proper trial setups, I'm just saying.
Thank you very much. Actually, you have mentioned the most important aspect is that like when it happens in an academic setting, that academia already had earned a trust on taking care of the patients and as well as have a direct interaction in their day-to-day business of dealing with the patients and as well as handling their queries and as well as relieving their pains. So that way, this matters a lot. I have an interesting question. Like, you know that like COVID-19 vaccine and Covishield are the I would say, in our recent past, or I would say in the past 50, 70 years, this is the largest adult vaccination program
Absolutely.
happened in this country. Majority of the vaccine trials are mainly childhood vaccination, whereas COVID-19 brought in most important dynamics of introducing a large-scale adult vaccination program. That too during a difficult times of pandemic. So, can you please share your experience? How did you balance the need of the rigorous methodology as well as with the urgency of public health timelines during COVID-19? Can you share some of your experience on that?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so absolutely. You see, when we started the vaccine trial in our setup, the previous setup, um, the phase one trial, like we took the challenges because we didn't know that time it was totally lockdown and everyone know like what happened in the lockdown time. So we took the challenge that we can, yes, we can do it because we had a team, we had the infrastructure, we had experience in our hand. So with that confidence that we took the challenge, okay, we can go ahead with the phase one study and all. So when we started the phase one study, the first participant who came to the site for taking part in was a from defense background. And he gave the confidence. So there from there actually we build the confidence. He was a defense background person and he voluntarily came and told that I want to take this vaccine. I want to challenge myself and I want to go and see. I don't want to wear mask. I want to go and see. But we describe about like if there is a protocol which you have to follow it. If you want to participate, it's okay. So he went through the protocol. He went through the consent process, and with proper thing, he took part in the study. So that gave us the confidence, and slowly the news was, I think, you see, before COVID, very few people or public were knowing about like what are the different phases of clinical trial, what are the risk benefits of participating in clinical trial, or why the vaccines are coming up, what are the duration of vaccine trial. All this knowledge were not there in public, but after COVID pandemic, most of these people, they came to know, okay, this is what we have to do. And you see, because of the trust, because of the I can share that you see, most of the participants who came, they came voluntarily and they took part in the studies. So phase one, we recruited, there was a limited number, so we recruited only 30 participants. Phase two, 35%. But in the phase three, it is the largest multicentric trial or the largest phase three trial involving 26,000 participants. By that time, like you see, people came voluntarily. Even we had volunteers from the lower section to the higher section of the community also, who came like with the CEO of a company also came with the family to take part in this. So it's not only that the low literate level, low literacy level people came, high literate, educated people also came and took part. So it is about the awareness. It is about the urgency. It is about the, you can say there was some fear of getting COVID infection. So if they get vaccinated and all, so that was also there. But still, we could able to recruit participants as per the timeline, and we are successful in doing that.
Thank you. And we have Dr. R.P. Shanmugam, who has joined in this call, who is the founder of Chennai Liver Foundation. So, Dr. R.P. Shanmugam, sir, I hope you are there in the call. And you have also asked an interesting question. Can you please unmute and you can ask the same?
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohapatra. It was a very excellent lecture and very illuminating for everyone, most of the people, because we don't study too much about vaccine. We can give, but we don't know the basics of it. So it's a very good illustrious lecture. Number one, I wanted to ask, there are a lot of papers from both in India, from India as well as abroad, especially in European countries, questioning about the urgency and the hastiness, I would say hastiness. The COVID vaccine was introduced there, and there are a lot of sequelae of the vaccine. They are seeing now. People are studying. Even recently, there is a paper from New England Journal of Medicine in England, studied in England, that it is causing some, it has caused some vascular problems for in a group of people. It's a randomized trial. Randomized trial, those who had a vaccine, those who had a COVID, and those who did not have anything, and those who they studied everybody, and they have recently told it is due to either due to COVID or we're not very sure. But most of the people have been vaccinated, and the vessels, smaller vessels, have become stiff. Both coronary vessels as well as renal vessels, eye vessels, all those things, the smaller vessels. So whether it is well studied, well established, because you in the initial period of your lecture, you told that this vaccine is studied for 10 to 15 years. But we are in urgency, both saving the lives of the patients as well as a political motivation. That's what I would say. Politically, we want to see that, yeah, we have done it. That's how it has gone. Is it really, are we in a good position to say that we have done it properly, or there may be a lacuna? This is my number one question.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for this. You see, we are hearing about those complications or those adverse effect that is happening, and some of the scientists are
we'll go one by one. Yes,
some of the scientists are trying to correlate with this with the COVID vaccination as well as COVID infection. Those who are infected with COVID. But there is not much of evidences that has been generated or that has been found to concretely say that yes, this is because of the COVID vaccines and also not much studies has been done, and most of the scientists like Indian scenario, it has been refuted or it has been declined that this is not related to COVID vaccination in any form. Coming to your question, like why this vaccine was developed so fast, there is a regulatory provision is there in case of emergency, in case of pandemic situation, or in case of war like situation where there is a requirement of any drug or vaccine, which the government or which the regulatory authority or the scientist or the apex organization thinks that this drug has to be approved for to be used because it can save more life than the people who are dying because of not having this. So there is a comparison between this, and then they compare and then they approve the drug, which is called as emergency use authorization. So best this decision has to be taken not only politically, it has to be taken both by the regulator and the research apex research organization. So all this the decision which are concurrent by all these organization, then only the drugs is approved for or the vaccine is approved for emergency use. And this exactly happened in COVID-19. We are need because 100 crore, 130 crore people were infected with COVID infection, and we were not at the stage to get vaccine from outside. So we had to do our own or develop our own indigenous vaccine. So based on that, the Covaxin vaccine was developed, the Covishield vaccine was developed, and with that motivation, we could able to vaccinate almost more than 100 crore people, which prevented more death as compared to the Western countries where vaccine was not available. The people had natural infection of COVID and they died of COVID. So I think that is what I can say. But regarding the complications, still studies are going on, but no relevant this one relation has been established.
Okay, thank you. My second question was, we used to give hepatitis B vaccine in the society. We used to have a lot of camps and then go and give the vaccine, 3 doses. And many places, all of a sudden, there is a sudden shortage of hepatitis B vaccine alone. Other vaccines are available freely. But why, what is the reason as of, when you have any reason to say that?
I'm sorry, sir. I don't have a reason for that. Maybe the government as well as the manufacturer.
Yeah, get into the government of India. Everybody knows now. As a matter of fact, only after we are informing everybody. But is it so? Is it so? That is the thing from authorities coming. But it is the fact because we are using it day in, day out. And now we are feeling the shortage of it. And only we are getting pediatric doses nowadays. At least now it's available. But with the adult dose, not at all available for the health workers and other people. That is the big tragedy going on now. I wanted to know whether you have any idea
I
about
don't
that.
have much. I don't have much idea about the supply and demand supply chain, and like what is the demand and what is how much supply government is
Okay.
giving. But it depends on the
Right.
manufacturer and the government, like how much vaccine they require, and so accordingly, the manufacturers they provide, or they maybe they're exporting the vaccine to the outside country because of their profit.
Monetary benefit. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's what I think. That's
absolutely, yes,
yeah,
yes.
that is that the government
Thank
should
you.
have. Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Ganesh.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Dr.
Thank you.
Shanmugam. Yeah, thank you very much. So
Thank you.
actually, to your query and some of the queries which is there in the question answer box, which is related to similarly questioning about that the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine, which is a very debatable topic which has been happening. I wanted to share an important finding that we specifically conducted the study on sudden deaths, a large multi-centric case control study across India, nearly across 50 sites, where the individuals has been admitted as sudden death, and we investigated thoroughly into what are all the potential risk factors. As actually mentioned by Dr. Satyajit, it was very clear that the most important risk factor which is associated with the sudden death is not COVID-19 vaccine, it is COVID-19 severe infection. Large proportion of those individuals who had been admitted and observed for 24 hours in the hospital and died due to sudden deaths or have had a history of severe COVID-19 infection, and they had actually been admitted. And when we investigated about that their vaccination history, we found that the history of COVID-19 vaccination was found to be of preventable to the sudden deaths, which means that proportion was more among those individuals who had survived. That is the part actually which we have observed. So I think we are just thinking about that, and also we need to agree upon that whenever any kind of like a pharmacological intervention, be it is drug or an COVID or any vaccination, it is bound to have some kind of an adverse effects which may not be directly related to the vaccination, may be related to some of the host or the human factors. So all those kind of like an occurrences cannot be totally tied upon on this particular vaccination, where a huge amount of hard work had happened in doing a public health research by stalwarts like Dr. Satyajit and many others across this country during the difficult times. And also, you also need to understand that through the entire presentation, Dr. Satyajit has clearly mentioned that we have never, discounted any regulatory or rigor methodologies. We duly followed all the rigor methodologies. We have actually made the rigor methodologies and documented everything on that. There is no urge or there is no any kind of all this kind of media havocs, whichever has happened, are intentionally made for sensational purposes. And I'm wondering that why such media havocs are not happening with other risk factors like smoking, alcohol, obesity, which are all the most important killers of the humankind and mankind. So, with all this kind of like the big wisdom that what we are currently been having with a larger proportion of the most important purpose of public health intervention is increasing the life expectancy, and vaccination is the most important intervention, which have been proven that increase the life expectancy both in terms of an under 5 children and now as an adult vaccination by COVID-19 for life expectancy of Indians also. So with all this great wisdom and as well as the detailed explanation, we really thank you, Dr. Satyajit, to share your valuable time and as well as your insights and wisdom to share with all the audiences. Thank you very much once again for joining us in the PRISM Talks. We'll be keep engaging you in all our future and collaborative work in Chennai Liver Foundation. And we wanted to say that to all the audience that Indian Council of Medical Research, National Institute of Epidemiology, and Chennai Liver Foundation keep collaborating with many people and stalwarts like Dr. Satyajit and many other academicians and researchers in order to do an impactful research and as well as disseminate those results widely. Any final words from your side, Dr. Satyajit?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Ganesh. And rightly said, like, see, people used to go for misinformation or spread misinformation regarding uh, rare things, but they forget about the common thing that is happening. So rather than focusing on COVID-19 or COVID, which has been now passed, we should think about like smoking, alcohol, obesity, which is coming up. You see, obesity is going to be a pandemic, maybe I think everyone in next 20, 30 years, uh, like every Indian is suffering from obesity, and we have to control that. So well said, and informed by you that we should now focus on those non-communicable diseases, which is going to be one of the major epidemic in India in the near future. So thank you, Dr. Ganesh, and thank you, Chennai Foundation, Liver Foundation, and PRISM
Thank
Talks.
you very much.
So nice of you.
Thank you.
And, thank you.
See you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ganesh.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much, Dr. Satyajit. Thank you, Dr. Ampish. And thank you, Dr. Vaishnavi, for organizing all this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.